Hi, welcome to another edition of the Above the Bridge podcast. I'm your host, Thaddeus. Will be episode 56. First off, shout out to our sponsors. First up, Defend Hawaii. If you go on their website, go to defendhawaii.com, figure out what you want, go into your shopping cart. Upon checkout, use promo code ATBPOD upon checkout, and you'll receive 15% off your entire purchase order. Defendhawaii.com, ATBPOD upon checkout. Also, iRep Detail Supply Company. If you go to irepdetailsupply.com, they have a whole bunch of stuffs where you can detail your car, truck, or whatever, soaps, waxes, whatever. Same thing. Go on their website, use promo code ATBPOD upon checkout, and you receive 15% off your entire purchase order. Last up, we got Hawaii Candy Factory. Go to hawaiicandyfactory.com. Same thing, promo code ATBPOD. You'll receive 10% off your entire purchase order. They have a bunch of crazy snacks for you to choose from, a lot of lihimui candies and little concoctions they have. So go check them out. Okay, so today we're going to do something a little different. I try to steer away from the political realm, but this time I kind of want to dabble into it. My guest is going to be running for the House of Representatives in Kaneohe, Maunawili District, District 49. And it's the district that I live in, grew up in. So that's why I'm having him on. This district is important to me. So my guest today is Mr. SHAWN Richey. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me on. This is awesome. And the IREP, they're having the Ko'olau cruise.
Yep.
Is it this weekend?
I think it's this weekend or next weekend. I can't remember, but yeah, we're supporting that. And Kaika's one of my good friends, and he's been supporting on the show. He's been on twice already, and we helped him with his grand opening. And yeah, he's doing a lot for the community as well. Beautiful. So, man, yeah. You're running for House of Representative in the Kaneohe Maunawili district, which is my district. So can you kind of describe what this job and what the House of Representative does?
Absolutely. So we live in a constitutional republic, which means that whatever's our private homes, our private property, that's ours. And then whatever is public is shared amongst the people. And so because there's so many people in Hawaii, we elect a representative for the various districts to speak on behalf of the people, to address their needs as it pertains to laws and resolutions, and basically the framework for how we live and interact in society, including the budgets for governments and grants.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that kind of detailed the answer. Okay, that's perfect. It's kind of like the House of Representative for the state, but in just the district side.
Correct. So there's 51 districts all across the state. And so the representatives from each of those come together each January, bring new bills to the table, have discussions. Again, the intent is that I would be representing the people of Kaneohe, listening to their voice, bringing those concerns and those needs to the people's house with all of the rest of the representatives so that we can come together and make things better for Hawaii.
Okay, that sounds pretty awesome. Before we get into that, let's kind of do a little bit of background about yourself, kind of let people know about you as a person versus you as somebody trying to run. So you grew up on Oahu, correct?
Yeah, guaranteed. I grew up in Aiea, Halawa Heights. I grew up playing Aiea Little League baseball, grew up, going down to the park, public school boy. Was my father owned a scuba diving business. So I was always into free diving and scuba. And that was more my arena when it came to just kind of the outdoorsy stuff. And then I always played basketball and volleyball and played some football. But really sports was a staple in my life to give me those structures growing up. Ended up graduating from Maunawili High School. And then after that had to go and kind of figure myself out, like a lot of people do. Just went to the mainland, ended up in Oregon, and ended up joining the military to put myself through college. I was 19 years old, serving overseas in Iraq. Got to kind of see a lot of kind of the macro geopolitical angles. Um, it was a very awesome experience, and also helped to shape that sort of public servant in me, especially when I came back. Went to Portland State University, paid my way through college, ended up marrying my high school sweetheart. And then we came back home in 2014, stayed with my in-laws for a little bit in Kailua. And then as soon as we could look to find a place, ended up moving over to Kaneohe. And we've been here since 2015. Have both of my kids here. I can't even imagine them growing up anywhere else, or us wanting to be somewhere else. Like, I used to be in town a lot, and I would go out with friends, and now it's like, if I make it over the mountain and then they call me, it's like, oh, sorry, I'm over the mountain. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Just that windward side, that pace, that style. I really love Kaneohe, and I really love the atmosphere that it brings, because it has enough going on to stay busy, but it's got those kind of country roots, and you can tell that people are have a lot of pride in Kaneohe. And that's what I love, is just people who will rep it all day, whether it's Castle or anywhere around here. It's just it's a great vibe.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with you. And you summed it up in a nutshell. Like, that's how I feel about Kaneohe. And I grew up here, and I left. I was living in Ewa for a little while, and then I moved back, and it's that same pride and that aloha that's in Kaneohe, and the weather and the vibe is like, my dad always told me, when you're coming from town, you leave all the drama and ruckus and whatever craziness you have going on in your life on the other side of the tunnel. And I always took that and kind of resonated with me. Every time I come back home, it's like all that BS is on the other side of the mountain.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you kind of started your family, for the most part, having kids in Kaneohe, and how's that been? Like, they're growing up as Kaneohe kids. That's kind of important. Being that you're running for this district, and you're pretty much hands-on with the local, like the schoolings and the DOE with their education and stuff. What do you feel is the best part of the community in Kaneohe now?
Yeah. It's really just the connection to, the vibe, to the land on this side. Like, one of the best experiences that I've had in the last, from beginning of this year, really, as I started to transition into this drive for public service as a representative, I needed to get my hands in the ground. So something I say a lot lately is, there's too many people with their heads in the clouds and not enough people with their hands in the ground. And so I ended up right up the road from us is Papahana Kuaola. So it's like Ahupua'a. They have a Lo'i and a Native Hawaiian forest, or they grow Native Hawaiian trees and whatnot. And I try and go there like twice a week, just to really, humble myself to the land. Can never outwork it. Get that connection. And really, it's that humbleness, especially before like the ko'olaus, right? Like, as somebody who's been a part of big projects and building things, and you always, as people think, oh man, we're the greatest thing ever, and we can build whatever. But I just look at those ko'olaus, and people will never be able to build something as beautiful and as powerful as those mountains.
Oh yeah.
So it's really just like that connection to the land that I love about this community is, people are hungry for that sort of independence, whether it's food independence or whatnot, and really hungry for that kind of community feel that, I recognize probably the most with like the West Side. You know what I mean? Like, once you get out to Waianae, I mean, you know what I mean? That's straight up community, and they're all looking out for each other and everything. And Kaneohe is like the best of that. Plus it has, access to all of, town and, Kailua, if you like go that side.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like you said, it has the best of both worlds. It's a little country and it's a little more towny. It's like a good kind of mix where, and like you said, people are proud to be here. So what kind of drove you to decide, okay, I need to make some changes and I'm gonna start running for this office?
Absolutely. So my career, after going into the military, I got into public service here. So I worked at the legislature for a session, and then I kind of used that to get a job in procurement, which is contracts and acquisitions in the state, and basically how the state plans and buys things. And so it's not very flashy, it's not very exciting, but it's an essential part of how this all works. And I just felt like, that was where I was most useful. I could be behind the scenes, I could make a real impact. I didn't need any shine. I don't have an ego. That's not a big thing for me. It's about the impact that I make and the change that I can do. And I really thought that I was going to be, in that kind of public service space for at least the next 10 years. But really it was, heading into the pandemic. And I always say, I was so proud of our state and the people of Hawaii, how when this pandemic, this unknown, global phenomenon hit Hawaii, we all came together, right? We all did the lockdowns. We all, did the separation. For me, we did telework and we pushed everybody. And I think we were so successful in approaching COVID because we put people first. And it was always looking out for your community, looking out for the people in need. How can we look out for each other? And I was so it was very exciting to me to see that focus and then how it drove kind of meaningful change, right? Whether it was telework, whether it was how we, washed our hands and, we're being more cleanly, or a lot of people, including myself, focused more on your health and how you can be healthy all around. And so all of that change, I was, obviously dealing with this kind of macro issue, but really, excited that we were putting people first. And then I started first thinking about this run when we were sort of transitioning out of COVID, if you will. I mean, it's still going on and everything like that, but it seemed like there were these very specific actions that were being taken by representatives and other political entities that, in my opinion, didn't seem to be putting people first. Not that they weren't thinking about people, but that they weren't putting people first in transitioning out. And I think that's why there's been some friction and some, I have multiple friends who lost their businesses and don't really understand why, because, they got shut down, but McDonald's was open as an essential business. And, all of these kind of questions that, really kind of woke me up to, hey, man, we had that magic. We had that magic of putting people first. Why are we going away from it? And so really the whole run for office is around, and that's kind of, my motto, my platform is putting people first in everything that we do in government, right? The way that we put people first heading into that, whatever it is, whatever the issue, looking through that, how does this affect your family, your community? How do we get down to that level to put them first to, heal and kind of build from, what's happened over the last couple of years? Because, we can't ever go back, but I want us to do better. You know what I mean? I want us to learn from that and grow from that and heal and kind of move forward. And I just felt like now is the time, if anything, for that voice to come through, for not really politicians, but for people from the communities who care and who want to put that first, and, who can see how that benefited us and how it could benefit us even more if we just, adopted that practice, in our government and how we spend our money and how we look to legislate and build the economy. Because if it's not people first, then who is it?
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty awesome. And I like the fact that this is your first run and you're not really a politician. In my opinion, politicians are a certain kind of genre. And I think we need a change from that kind of politician. We need more somebody who is part of the community and somebody that's willing to make a change, but do it the right way, for not any other purpose than to help out everybody else. I know, I mean, not all politicians are bad or whatnot, but a lot of them do have themselves in mind that's going to benefit from some of the decisions they make, and it affects everybody. And I mean, there's a lot of money in that industry, but if the right people were in the right spots, it could help everybody. And in my opinion, I feel like that's kind of what you're trying to do. In Kaneohe is kind of like your first step, right? So this would be your first time running for something. So looking in Kaneohe, what do you think the problems are in Kaneohe and in this district right now that needs to be worked on?
So I think, you kind of hit it on the head, even in your intro, right? Is when we grow up, we're told, don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, don't talk about these things. And I think that mentality coming up is made like, oh, politics isn't for me. Politics, you know what I mean? Like, just let the politics be politics and my life be my life. And
Yeah.
I think for a long time, that's how it was. And we were able to get by with that. But really, with some of these changes and how, even the whole world is moving in these very kind of concerted manners, I think politics is everywhere now. Like, it used to be politics was just in politics, but now politics is in your home, politics is in your sports, politics is everywhere that we look, but we can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And so what I really am looking for and what I'm trying to break down and why this is such a great opportunity is, how can we have those conversations? How can we create those safe places where people can connect to politics, connect to their representatives, feel safe in doing so, and know that their representatives, their people are going to stand up for them? Because you're right, I don't want to be a politician. I consider myself to be a public servant and a representative of people. And what I mean by that is, politics has become sort of a celebrity of sorts. Yeah. And if you are too worried about your status and you're not worried about your impact, then you're not going to have the conversations that you need to have to make people's lives better, because it's not easy to do change. Change is always, hard, and change is always uncomfortable. And I think that we need strong leaders and strong people who are going to stand up and take the brunt of that uncomfortableness so that everybody else doesn't have to. But if we're just going to avoid the conversation and hope that it does, it fixes itself, I think that history has shown us that that's not the case. And so really the issue that I see is just, how do you have that conversation? How do you, break down those walls, anywhere from like throwing concerts to, beach days, or, all of the things that, growing up, work because you're able to come and kind of try it out. Going and knocking on people's doors is like, oh, do you have any political questions? And it's just like, nope, good. Bye. Nice to meet you. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I love them. But until people are ready to have those conversations and realize that they're not going to get canceled, that their opinion matters. And as long as you're trying to make things better, then we want to hear from you. And we want to take that and try and do better. That's the biggest issue that I'm finding is, it's weird because I got to win a popularity contest to get in there, but really, I'm going to work harder for the people than anybody else, because that's what I do. I'm going to go and I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to sacrifice as much as I can, because this is the community that my kids are growing up in. This is the community that I love, that I've built, many, my faith community around, my health community around. It's all in Kaneohe. It's all great people. And I just feel like, how can we bring all those energies together, right? To really sort of, elevate the people's voice in how these things are getting done. Because I think you could ask 10 people in Kaneohe right now, like, what their connection to the government is. And, maybe they'd say paying taxes.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like, it's just kind of taboo. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't talk about that.
Yeah, and it's very hard to get in touch with like any politician or try to have your voice heard that would fall on ears that actually would care or take what you're saying into consideration to make a change. And people are kind of in Hawaii, I hate to say it, are comfortable with doing what they're told. And I feel like the younger generation is trying to break out of that and want to have a say in what's happening around the communities. And um, especially with the pandemic, you've seen it like, oh, I don't want to wear a mask. People are starting to speak out, and the government maybe kind of lost a little bit of power because of that, because the younger generation wants to be heard and wants to have questions answered and wants to be able to speak and not fall on deaf ears. And if that's the direction politics is going to go in, then that'll be the best thing for the communities. It's
I agree.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to think like if you have a problem, who do you talk to? Like,
Right.
and I guess it's like you can send an email or try a phone call or whatever, but you'll get a secretary or you'll get somebody that like it. Most of the times you don't get any feedback. So I think if you're in the realm of that kind of change and kind of listening to people, and I mean, like you said, you're going to houses, knocking on doors and trying to establish relationships with people and find out what's going on in the community. That's not easy, man. And that's more than what most the politicians now are doing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the commitments that I'm really looking to make is, if I get into office, it's about raising up the next generation of leaders. Like, I'm not a type of person who hoards knowledge or you know what I mean, tries to build those things for myself. Literally anything that I'm given, I'm going to give out. Right. And I want to, again, start that healthy relationship where, kids from the community, right, the best and brightest of us, right, the people who are doing things in their community, how can I help to give them a platform to lift them up? I've been in management for a while now, and that's totally my management style, and that's what I want to bring here is my community's successes are my successes. Like, I would rather nobody know my name and be helping in all of these communities than be kind of that pillar of like, oh, if you need to get something done, oh, you got to go to Richie, right? And then centralize all that in my out. No, I want to share it out. I want to lift everybody up so they have access, they have those opportunities, and then really try to, inspire. We've talked about it a couple of times now, that pride, right? Like, it should be an honor to run for Kaneohe, to run for your community, to step up and experience what that's like, and, not have, one person get in and then be there for 20 years. It should be something where, this should be one of the biggest competitions that we have, you know what I mean? And I was honestly kind of shocked that I haven't seen too many people running from this community. And, if people do, if they hear this and they want to run, you know what I mean? I'm always about maximum competition. I want who's best for our community. I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? Like, I'll help anybody out as long as they're joining in to raise their voice and say, you know what, we can do better than this. I know we can do better than this. And that's what I'm hoping to bring and build, but it's a slow road. I mean, I worked for the government. I know how slow this stuff goes. But if you don't start, just because it's not going to get fixed overnight doesn't mean we can't start today.
That's true. You got to start somewhere. So on a personal note, like, how did you feel like, okay, you're knowing that you're going to put yourself out there with no political background, you're decided, okay, I'm going to run, like, of course you're going to have to go wave sign and do all those things, and you've never done it before apparently, so you're not nervous, you're not like, oh bro, this is more than I could have thought of, or like, how's it been going so far?
So far it's been it's been kind of slow, honestly, just because I feel like there's um, a lot of reservations in the Democrat Party, which is where I'm running in right now,
Okay.
except for sort of, issues that people feel very passionate about and they just want to kind of like rant about. Like I want to find the people who are willing to again kind of step into that action mode, right? Where can we go to start to build? Like I'm a type of person that gets things done and does what I say I'm going to do. So how can I cultivate and find that where I'm not going to make you false promises. I'm not going to, sell you something that I can't deliver on. And I think that that's a little bit different for people too. And then just kind of breaking through just sort of the information overload that we're in right now, just as a society, is just like, whether it's, Instagram or Netflix or, whatever you're consuming, it's coming on all sides. And it's like, it's hard to, break through that. And then going back to our other conversation, break through that for politics, right? It's like, oh, no, unless I'm going to like, yell about someone that I absolutely hate, you know what I mean? I'm just going to kind of stay out of it. And I don't really want the outrage, right? I want the action. And so, that's sort of why I'm coming to this as well is, well, first off, I said I was going to a lot of people who are encouraging me to. And again,
Nice.
Just one of those people. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I say I'm going to show up, I'm going to show up. If I'm going to put it in, then I got to go kind of all in. And secondly, just, I got my kids here, you know what I mean? And I really feel like we're at a very strange crossroads with, the rail and Red Hill and, elections, if you want to go there, or any of, there's so many issues that are going on right now. And it's just like, the only thing that I'm hearing is let the same people who did these things get us out of it. And you never ask someone who made the mess to fix it, right? You come in and you can direct them and demand they fix it, but you don't just say, hey, you made this mess. How are you going to get us out of it? It's no, they made it. And so a big part of it for me is just, we got to come in with change. We got to come in with people who, a lot of people are like, oh, Sean, like I'm not as intelligent as you. I couldn't be a politician. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with it at this point. To me, at this point, it's more about asking good questions than having good answers. Because again, if we're going to get out of this, it's got to be listening to the people. It's got to be including the people in these conversations, or we're not going to get out of it. So how can you ask the right questions so that we can invite those conversations? And that's what I'm hoping to do, getting any platform that I can, just try to ask good questions, stand up, and then just open invitation. Like, even when I go and knock on people, how can I serve you? How can I show up? Because that's my strongest. I could sit here and give you pretty words all day, but to me, those are just pretty words. I want to show up. I want to, get my hands dirty with you, put in the sweat, put in, experience what it is. So then I can understand and learn how to best grow that and bring resources to the table to help, elevate what's already beautiful and exists in Kaneohe. They're doing it all on their own. And I feel like, we should be cultivating that instead of some of these other things we're trying to do.
Yeah. And it seems like from what you've been telling me, you're trying to have the community be involved way more than what they have been in what's happening around. And you kind of want to be their voice. And I guess whatever changes that come about, you want them to be involved with it, not just, okay, you're the leader, go fix everything. It's like, no, help me fix everything. That's the kind of vibe that I think that you're giving off. And that's definitely different than what's happening in the for a while. You know what I mean? Like the community is not involved with the politicians or making decisions. It's like I said, it seems like do what you're told and we got this. Don't worry about it. But no, you don't got this. We want to help you get this. And that seems to be like the campaign that you're running from what I've been talking to you about. I wanted to know, since you've been talking to a lot of the people in the community and going on doors and talking to actual Kaneohe people and in the district, what are their concerns that you've been hearing most of, and what do they see as a community? What do they think the problems are in this community?
So, I think part of it is just that complete lack of understanding, especially of what a legislator does. I would say at the legislative law level, education seems to be the biggest one. Just with, various kind of aspects of the last couple of years and not having access to certain resources or feeling like their voice isn't heard in that. And I always say, we're the only state in the United States that has one board of education for the entire state. And we're made up of different islands. So like all of the other, no island has their own board, and it's all just into one thing. And if you just have one for the whole state, it's so hard to have your voice be loud enough to affect that kind of centralization. Yeah. And so, a lot of times they'll ask me, oh, how would you fix those things? And I really do believe that we need to decentralize some of those systems so that people have access in the community to participate in them. So that would be a big, voice that I would have in there is how can we take these structures that serve Hawaii well, but a lot of times are out of the reach of the people? And how can we just bring it down enough where the people's voice matters, they can participate so that they can invest in it? I mean, we already have it, right? Like Castle is huge, right? The community for Castle is just outstanding. But if you wanted to make change at Castle, if you wanted to have more of a say in some of those certain things, there's a lot that the school can't do because it's governed by this larger body. And again, they are looking at the entire state and not just the communities. But other than that, it's like chickens and traffic and, a lot of city and county things. But but that matters to me too, because I'm not just looking to be their legislator. I'm also looking to be in the community as a representative. I want to go to the neighborhood board meetings. I want to go to the city council meetings and bring the voice of the people. Because again, as a representative, I should carry the voice of more than just myself. I'm carrying the voice of those people. So if that's their concern, then I'm going to go to where their concern is. And even though I cannot make the decisions there, I can still share the concerns of the people there. And that's really the investment that me and my family are looking to make. Is I do not want to be one of those people that knock on your door for election year and then you never see me till next election year. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. I want to be here. And so that's why on my website, voteshawnricchey.com, we broke down the platform into kind of 2 pages. That's also kind of our slogan is we can. And so on the we can page, those are all the things that we can do without lawmaking, right? And so it's kind of these 6 pillars of our communities that we can invest in. So the first one is media independence, right? So starting up a podcast, right? Doing a Kaneohe magazine, doing a Kaneohe, topical show where you go and you highlight local businesses. How can I help to lift up people's voices so that they have that freedom of speech? They have that voice in their community so that they can stay connected to what's going on locally. And then food independence, right? Not just working with the farmers and, the Maunawili and the people who are doing awesome stuff, but how can we help to teach you to grow in your backyard? How can we help to teach you to have exchanges and exchange with your community and feed the people around you? Because there's no better way to build community than by feeding people.
For sure.
And then the next one is political independence, right? So that's what I would hope to be is a part of that political independence where I can build a network where people can share their political concerns. And then we have community independence, which could be education. It could be, random acts of kindness, what you're doing in your community, any of that. And then medical independence. How can we get community clinics? How can we get access to care to people without having to go over the mountain, where it's affordable and accessible in our communities? And then finally is financial independence, right? So that's our small businesses. That's our investment opportunities for things locally. And so those 6 pillars are where I'm going to be spending my time outside of having to be at legislature and debating laws and bringing laws. Is I'm going to be going and investing in our communities and trying to raise up people and voices from our communities that are already in those pillars. They're already doing those things around. I just want to highlight them and give them a platform and a place to kind of grow and attract other people to come and learn about what they're doing and hopefully do it themselves. And then the second part is the page Do Better. And I take the entire Democrat Party platform and I give it a people first look to show how I would advocate for those things in office. But to be fair, that's just how I look at it and would advocate it. The difference between me and other people is during legislative session, I'm going to be checking in with the community. I'm going to be doing surveys. I'm going to be having town halls. I'm going to make sure that I'm checking myself with the people I'm representing before I go and speak on their behalf in the people's house. There was just that one, and I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but somebody who's on this side put forth a bill that when I'm walking around canvassing, I heard a lot of concerns about. And yeah, there's some good, it's for the cash bail reform. And yeah, there's some good intentions and reasons behind it, but now is not the time. And you never talk to the community about it. And almost everybody I talked to had concerns about the implications. So whether it's education or they're just absolutely against it, there was so much concern and it was getting bulldozed through legislature. And so now it got passed, it's going to the governor. And only now after it got passed and people were like, wait a second, what did you do? Now they're trying to go back and now they're listening to the people after it was done. And they're hoping to veto it at the end when they should have been having that conversation and that check and balance with the people the whole way.
That makes sense. Well, say if you were to come to my door and talk to me or if you were to go to my dad, his concerns are more city and county stuff, like the traffic. They've been fixing Kamehameha Highway for the past 4 years. And it's like they do about 3 feet every month. I don't know what's going on. And it's taking forever. And the thing I would be mostly concerned, if you remember back in the 70s, there was the flood in Keapuka, and they created the reservoir and the dam so that it won't happen again. But they let that river system turn to crap. Like if you go look at it now, and I see it every day, it's all overgrown. There, like you can barely see the water going through. And if some big storm were to come, like we could have that happen all over again. And my dad and other people would send emails and stuff, and they would dredge maybe like a little bit and then all overgrown. And it's like when I grew up, that river used to be so clean where I could swim in. We'd fish and do whatever. And now it's all overgrown. It smells. There's weeds and bushes, and it's going to be bad. If it were to storm, it's going to clog. And like, that's when the flood's going to happen. And it's kind of very apparent to see, and everybody talks about it, but nothing ever gets done. And like that, like you said, that's a city and county issue. Like, well, what would you say if somebody were to speak to you about that when you come to their door? Like, how would that be handled?
Oh, and they absolutely have been, and they've been taking me out back, and like there's literally like mountain apple trees growing in the middle of the stream. And they're saying that, it hasn't been cut in 2 years. And
Yep.
how can we get people out there? Meanwhile, the sides are eroding, you know what I mean? The infrastructure is cracking. And when they call, they're not getting the same answers that they used to. And I think, again, what I would say to your father, what I say to those people is, you know, that's why we need to have our representatives there. Is unfortunately, again, with the saturation, with all of the competing interests, individual people's voices don't seem to matter the way that they used to, which is very, very sad. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I think that that's just a product of the time we are in the world, where there's so many kind of loud voices going. But for the people who are being elected to represent those people, they still got to go and listen to that and bring it there. So what I've committed to, and again, like I said, if I say I'm going to do something, I got to do it. It may not be in your time, but I got to go do it. Is I went down that street right by the stream and I heard it over and over again. So I'm actually going to start up a petition, and I, as a candidate and a representative, are going to go back through those people on my next checkup with them. And I'm going to have a petition, and I'm going to get as many signatures as I can there. And then I will go and deliver that to the city and county, have that conversation with that, and see what we can't do. And then honestly, if they're still not able to do those things, then, you know, we have the best people on the planet in Hawaii, and in Kaneohe, you know, even more so. So I would put together, and, you know, I volunteer at a place where I can get some manpower, and we'll just go have a community day, and we'll go get the community in there. Right. And you know what I mean? And we'll let the city and county know that we're going to do it. So if they're worried about safety, if they don't want us to go do it, well, then you come do it. We've been asking for this long. But if not, the community is going to take care of the community. And we cannot just do nothing because, you know, our voice isn't being heard. And that, in a nutshell, is also why I'm running. Is, you know, I felt that way at certain points in this pandemic. I have a lot of friends who felt that way, where just their voice doesn't matter. And that's such a deflating thing, right? As somebody who's like, hey, I'll come and I'll go do it. I'll go put in the work. But, you know, that's not my place. That's your place. So either empower me or go and do it. And instead, it's just silence.
Yeah.
And so I'm not coming in to do more of that. I want to be a disruptor of sorts, but again, a respectful one, right? Again, one that is being disruptive for the people that I represent, not for any other causes or my own personal things. But I want to make sure that when the people have a concern, I'm going to go and voice it, even if it's like, hey, we're not talking about that right now, Sean, right? We're talking about something else. Well, I just want to make sure that as much and as often as possible, you know, I'm letting you know what the people in my community are looking for, and then start those conversations. Because that's what, to me, the representative government that we live in is supposed to be all about.
For sure. Well, if you do have the community gut out that river, bro, I'll be there with my weed whacker. I definitely be down for that. Also, if you're gonna do that petition, I'll put my name on in a second. So just let me know, bro. If it ever came down to it, which I didn't even think about that, like to have the community help clean it out. I'm sure there'd be more than a lot of people that would be down for that. I mean, I definitely would, for sure. I'd be out in there with my boots and weed whacker going at it for sure.
Yup.
Okay, on a personal note, man, we talked a lot about what you're doing for change and stuff, but as a dad, as someone just living in Kaneohe, what do you like to do for fun? Like, what is your like pastimes and stuff you do when you're just chilling?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, growing up, I always had friends who were very, you know, either they were like performers or they had these great skills. And I always felt like, man, I never really found what my skill was. And it wasn't until I became a father, until I really, fully adulted, that I realized that for me, that's serving others and helping others. And so that's why, again, I'm in such a season right now where, you know, I'm always putting out, and I put it out to you, if there's something in the community that I can help out with, like, that's what is feeding me and my family the most. when I go and I take my kids up to Papahana and they go in the Lo'i and they're all covered in mud, right? That connection and that service and knowing that you're helping and tending to the land. Or I volunteer at a men's rehab center for men who are recovering from substance abuse and addiction, and just being there and serving them and helping them in that, that's honestly what gives me the most kind of fire and inspiration to keep going. And other than that, like just hanging out with friends, we do a lot of really cool talks. I haven't been scuba diving as much, but taking the kids to the beach and really used to do a lot of hiking and outdoor stuff. Just as much as I can connect to nature, I feel like that's the balance I need from kind of, traditionally I've been like cubicle jobs, you know what I mean? Where it's just you're in the fluorescent lighting all day and you're on the computer, and it's like, nah, afterwards I just got to go and, connect back to what's real. And that's what feeds me right now, man. It's just, kind of being blessed by blessing others.
Well, that's awesome. And that's definitely something cool that your children will learn by your example. And I always say you lead by example versus by telling. So your kids see you doing and making changes, they're going to be inspired and they'll learn that way. For the future, like say you do win and you get into office, how far are you wanting to take this career in politics? Are you looking at a higher level eventually, or you're just kind of wanting to stay in the community circuit?
Yeah. So, what I would like to do is get into office and again, try to create a proof of concept with these, building up the communities around these aspects, right? Building up the storytelling, building up the media, building up the food independence, building up the medical and community, and health and fitness, and kind of building these communities around. And if it can take and if it grows, then of course I'm going to want to spread that message as far as I can. But for me, it's always magnitudes of, what's most important. And right now, what's most important is my neighbors. What's most important is my community, the people that I'm seeing, the people that, I go and meet every day. Like that's where it has to start. And then I have no ambition to stay in politics. And again, when I say it, I mean it. I don't want to be a politician. I view this as a tour of duty, a service to my community. And I'm going to invest and I'm going to put as much as I can in to leave it better than I found it. But then I want to hand it off to somebody else who's going to come in and bring that fresh voice and hopefully take wherever I took it. And I'll give them all of my platform, like, whatever connections I build to the community and everything like that. I'm not building it for SHAWN RICHEY. I'm building it for Kaneohe. And then I'm going to give that to the next person so they can stay connected and they can start, because to me, that's where it's at. And, I do have people who are big supporters of mine, and, I'm a pretty quiet, reserved person. Again, I would rather you not know who I am and me be making your life better than who I am and me selling you a bunch of stuff that I may or may not deliver on. And so there's a lot of people who believe in me because of the way that I operate, the way that I do these things. And, they wanted me to run for governor or run for this and that. And I was just like, that's great. And I appreciate that. But right now it's only as real as what we can do, because, if we can't do it at this level, at this community who I believe is hungry for it, I believe, if empowered, would do way better than the government. And that's, sidestep a little bit. I've worked in the government my whole life. I can't remember when the government did something like so good. Like the people and the market can always do better than the government if you empower them too.
Yeah.
And so how can we empower this beautiful community who wants to do so much, who has all the concerns? How can we give them the tools and resources and confidence to go and make things better in their community and not feel though, they're going to be hitting red tape or, running into some of these things that are maybe traditional roadblocks or areas that they feel like either they're not welcome or that they can't partake in.
Yeah. Well, that's refreshing because most politicians are always looking, okay, well, after I get this done, then I'm going to the next level. I'm going to the next level. And it's using the smaller platforms as a stepping stone. And from what you're telling me in this case is not really that. It's like, okay, I want to get everything good here and pass it on to someone else to keep it better. That's definitely different. That's definitely not what I'm used to hearing about politics. So that's already a good change. Right on,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Well, we've been going for about an hour, and yeah, I feel very positive of your message that you're giving and coming across. It's crazy to think like it's happening soon, right? When is the election? It's coming up soon, huh?
Yeah, so that's really kind of the messaging that I'm giving now too. We're getting our yard signs, so hopefully they're actually coming in tomorrow. So the yard signs will be going up a lot more, and then getting some more banners, putting those out there. We're gonna be doing a lot more of the sign waving. So I got that crew together. We're gonna be out there in the community more, just raising awareness over the summer. But really, I think people are excited for summer. This is like the first summer without the restrictions and all of that. And I want people to go and enjoy. I want them to go and have a good time. They deserve it. But the hope is that we can plant enough of those seeds so that when we come into fall, people are ready for change. People are ready to, okay, I had my good summer. Now let's like look and see who's going to be there to kind of make that change. And my hope is to build up this campaign enough throughout the summer so that as we come into late July or early August, I want to challenge the incumbent, my opponent, to a debate, set a stage, have a thing, and just bring them out to have a real conversation. And again, have the people there, take questions from them. You know what I mean? Again, I have mad respect for the incumbent and anybody who's running. But at the end of the day, I want the people who are going to show up and have those tough conversations and step up to the spotlight when it's there. So that's my hope, is to build this big enough where I can set that stage and either, he shows up and we can have a great debate and I'm fully ready for that, or he doesn't show up, and then which case that's a win for me too.
Yeah.
But the primary is going to be mid-August. I can't remember the date, but yeah, mid-August is going to be the primary. So that's going to be me versus the incumbent. And then after that, then it'll be the final in November. So really the big date for me is August. Again, kind of building slow. Again, first time grassroots, but really I want to make sure that I have as many of those things covered, because I do believe that when the time comes, I'm going to step up to the plate every single time. Whatever opportunity I get, whatever it is, like I have no fear there. I'm going to go, I'm going to represent people. I'm going to humble myself. I'm going to share everything that I got in the hopes that, again, when it comes that time and people are looking and like, do we want more of the same, or do we want to give a shot to do better? And then hopefully when that time comes, they'll vote SHAWN Richey and have the confidence to invest in me because they know that I'm going to turn right around and invest in them.
Right on. Well, man, I'm going to wish you good luck. And yeah, if you guys do have a debate, I'll be there, man. I want to check that out.
And then going to bring the family this weekend to the IREP.
Okay.
After church, we're going to head over there.
Yep. So we'll probably be there for a little bit. So where can people find you on Instagram, website, whatever platforms you have on social media?
Yeah. So it's at Vote SHAWN Richey on all of the social medias. It's voteshawnrichey.com for the website. I'm also, there's a great Facebook group for Kaneohe. It's kind of nostalgic and all this stuff, but they have a no politics prohibition. And so I created a new Facebook group, actually just created it today. So anybody who wants to come and share their voice, whatever it is, it's just Kaneohe, let's talk politics. and it's
Okay.
a closed group. We're going to be putting that out there. And really, I want to create that safe place where, you can leave those other Facebook groups aside. You can leave that aside and kind of, step into a place where we're going to talk about the problems. We're going to talk about positions and then hopefully solutions, and really start to make it a little bit easier to have conversations about politics here in Kaneohe.
Oh, right on. And for us, it's the same Above the Bridge podcast on Instagram and YouTube, also on Facebook, and our website is atbpod.com. My Instagram is ThattyDaddyHi. Bro, it's been a pleasure, and you're record-breaking first politician or anything to do with politics on my show. It's always just more of an entertainment show, but I felt like for my community, it was important to have you on, and I feel like we got your message across, and I'm looking forward to see how it resonates with my listeners and the people of Kaneohe. It'd be cool to see you get in there, man, and make some changes and cut out this freaking river by my house.
Let's go.
Before it floods over.
Guarantee. Hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your voice, and I appreciate what you do. It's not easy to go out there and share your voice, but we need more of it, man. And so glad to meet you and be on Above the Bridge.
Yep. Hopefully we can meet in person, and yeah, it'd be cool. Maybe I'll see you this weekend, man. All right. Well, shakas for the cameras. Right on, man. I appreciate you coming on, and good luck, and we'll hope to see you in office. Right on, bruh. And we're done. Aloha. Shout out to the Artist Group Network.